Good morning, everybody. It is Thursday, May 20th, and we're here for Eastside Connect. We've got an awesome show for us today, kind of just an exciting topic that, as I mentioned to our presenters, I've been talking about in every meeting I've been in this week. So I'm excited for us to look at how word travels right now as we are in transition with the pandemic. We've got presenters on to help us talk about two events, and then we'll be hearing from the folks who have chimed in today, kind of like a call-in hour on the show, about what they think get people out to events that don't just naturally lie in our way. I want to start with Isaba's sponsors, and here they are. Isaba's celebrating 30 years this year, though we are technically 31 years old in 2021. So we're doing that thing where it's like, oh yeah, how old are you? Oh, I'm turning 30 again. Okay, anyway, it's all good. So yeah, how many times can you turn 30? Not too many is my answer. We're thankful for Ideal Printers and DV Creative, Harrington Langer and Associates at State Farm, the Office of Juan Cervantes and the Sane Foundation, M Health Fairview, St. Paul Federal Credit Union, the St. Paul Port Authority, which is also one of our presenters today, Highway Credit Union, Metropolitan State University, Sunrise Banks, Walters Recycling and Refuse, Health Partners, and Mueller Memorial. Thank you, Isaba's annual sponsors. Welcome everybody to the show. You'll see over in the chat, folks are dropping in their name and a little bit about themselves, so that helps kind of us do the locating and the networking that you will want to do on our with our meeting today. I'm going to put our current agenda up there right now and give you a peek at where we're going with this topic. And then I'd like to introduce Lori Seaver from the St. Paul Port Authority. But before I do that, let's do a little quick round of introductions for all of us, so Lori kind of sees who's in the room. So go ahead and turn on your camera if you can, and we will do a quick waving round of introductions here. So here we go. Also, you notice we'll be using the chat today. You can also just gesticulate wildly if you have a question, and I'll work on calling on you. Otherwise, I see most of you are on mute, and that's a good way to kind of proceed with our meeting protocol. But it's great to see you all. So many wonderful Eastside faces each Thursday. Here we go. If you run an Eastside business or a part of an Eastside business, go ahead and give us a wave. I see Darren Varley from DV Creative, also an Isaba sponsor. Hi, Darren. I see William Schultz, an Isaba board member, and Rachel from Rainbow International, St. Paul. I see Chelsea from TC Tubes. Chelsea DeArmond. Hi, Chelsea. We have any other businesses? Oh, I see Jorge, but I don't see Jorge from Sunray BP. He was on just a minute ago. He may be running around the gas station over on Roof. I see Tyler Tran from Payment Smith. Those are the businesses that I see at the moment. Okay, welcome everybody. If you are a part of an Eastside nonprofit or community organization, give us a wave. Okay, I see Katie Matson-Daly from the Beloved Church. I see Elaine from Hazel Park Learning Center, Robin from District 5, Payne Phelan Community Council. I see Chelsea from St. Paul 350. Haley Ball from Urban Roots. Haley, how many years is Urban Roots celebrating this year?
52.
52, see? But you can go ahead and say you're turning 29 again. I mean,
we could. We really could.
I see Andrea from Family Values for Life. Kat Brown, I think maybe you're new to the show.
Yeah, I'm with the St. Paul Police Department. Kirk couldn't make it today and stuff, so I told him I would jump on and be available.
Fantastic, thank you. You'll see that we have a police update a little later in the show. We usually do that around 11:45. So it's great to have you on. Thanks for
I apologize. I don't have video on my computer screen. They haven't upgraded me yet. So. Okay.
Well, this is a good place to ask for all the things you want in life. So an upgrade is one of those things we'll just make note of. Rachel is also new to the show today. Rachel, I'm glad to have you on. Why don't you, if you don't mind, just unmute and introduce yourself.
Hi. I'm Rachel, so I'm kind of taking William's place here at Rainbow. So I'm just kind of joining in and getting to know how all this works and meeting new people.
Great, Rachel. Welcome aboard. I'm glad to have you on the show. All right, here we go. So I think we've done introductions. I think we've got some special guests, and Chris Shong is one of our special guests from the city of St. Paul. Chris, are you available to turn on your camera and say hi? Chris did unmute, but we can't hear you, Chris. Okay, we're going to come back to you. Lori Siever is with us from the St. Paul Port Authority, and Lori, I intentionally didn't actually get to who's here from a public-private partnership called the St. Paul Port Authority. It's always one of my favorite moments. There's Lori. The St. Paul Port is a sponsor of ISABA. We're happy to have your work on the east side and throughout the city. The St. Paul Port Authority does all kinds of amazing things. In this particular meeting, we'll hear a little bit about their development work with some of our larger parcels. And Hillcrest is perhaps the largest one we've ever seen. I don't know, that may not be true. Robin, you may check me on that, and other folks who are. Hey, Chris, there's Chris.
Hi, sorry. My computer has some issue today. How's everybody doing?
Great. Hi, Chris. Thanks so much. We're glad to have you on. We'll love hearing a little bit more from you after Lori. Does that sound good?
All right. Yep, sounds good.
All right, terrific. So Lori, I want to invite you, here we are in this moment. We're talking about how there's Jorge turned on his, hey, Jorge, we introduced you earlier. Sunray BP, also an ISABA board member. Glad to see you on today. Terrific to have you on the show. We're about ready to transition and talk about our topic. Just to set it up though, here's an opportunity for us to talk a little bit about outreach and what strategies we're trying to use during the end of the pandemic. I'll just go ahead and just brand it. Let's call May, June, the end of the pandemic. I don't know, I could be wrong, you can blame me. But what does it take to connect with people right now? What does it take to help them reconnect with community? And we've got two really wonderful opportunities that are great cases in point right now. One of them is, like I said, the largest redevelopment opportunity the East Side has ever seen. Hillcrest. The Hillcrest Golf Course, owned by the city of St. Paul, was turned over to, or reclaimed. I'm not sure exactly the wordage to use, but the St. Paul Port Authority was enlisted to help the redesign effort. And we're at this moment where it's time for East Siders to sidle up and give their opinion. Now, those of you who know an East Sider, is that usually a problem? Like, sidle up and give your opinion. Like, that's not usually a problem, right? We totally want our East Side neighbors to come forward and tell us about what they want at Hillcrest. So here we are, re-engaging at this stage in the process because we have not heard from the East Side the way we need to. Lori, take us away and tell us a little bit about this moment for Hillcrest and what we're looking forward to in the next couple days or weeks. Welcome, Lori Siever from the St. Paul Port.
Thank you. So, as Paris said, people have been talking about Hillcrest for quite a while now, and there has been community engagement. The city has been leading the master plan, and as always happens with anything, lots of different conversations happen where people start thinking that their voice hasn't been heard and won't be heard, and that everything's been decided. And that's not true. The Port Authority is just beginning to do our community engagement. And because we want to get this rolling as quickly as possible, we have put together a meeting this Saturday is where it will kick off at Hayden Heights Rec. And it is in partnership with the city, Council Member Yang, and the Greater East Side Community Council, also known as District 2. And that would be Lisa, who was going to be here, but unfortunately she may not be able to join us. So anyhow, like I said, we're gonna kick off this Saturday, and because things are going so well, it is an in-person outdoor event. But we will have a tent just in case it rains, because we all know how Minnesota is. So anyhow, I want to go through just a little more detail about the meeting, and then at the end we can talk about how we can help, how we can get involved, okay? So, I think one of the things is that it is important to share actually what's going to be talked about at a meeting, and that can determine if somebody wants to come to a meeting or not. So on our invite that we shared at the end of the last meeting, there was a tentative agenda listed on it. And so I just want to go through a little bit about it briefly and have enough time to talk later. So first off, not everybody knows who the Port Authority is. When I applied at the Port Authority, I had no idea who they were. I'm like, do you run the river? And that's all I thought. So at any meeting, we're not going to assume people know. So we're going to do a Port 101. We're going to say who we are, what we do, why we got involved in this, and what's to come. As Paris was talking about a large development, this is the largest economic development project by the Port Authority since the 1980s when we developed Energy Park in the Midway area. And then master plan. You know, we are going to talk about the master plan, what has been done so far, and where we're going. Like we said, the conversations are just getting started and they're going to continue through the summer and beyond. The actual timeline for this project is that the master plan process is underway and it is anticipated to be completed and approved in the spring of 2022. After that, then infrastructure construction, remediation, site plan preparation should all happen between 2022 and 2023. Initial building construction will start in 2023 with occupancies happening in 2024. So as you can see, we've got plenty of time to work on this together. Project, we want to talk about the project economics. We have to explain to people, like some people would like it to be a great big beautiful park. Well, we are going to explain why it can't just be a park. And next we're going to talk about why we need to have our goal is to have 1,000 jobs there and 1,000 housing units. We all know that there is a big shortage of housing in St. Paul. And so we're going to go right into that. And that's one of the major topics a lot of people want to talk about is the need for housing. And what kind of housing? Housing, high density, low density, affordable, market rate, multi-generational. All of this is coming up and we want to hear from everybody and get their opinions on it. The port is all about jobs. So then we'll go into talking about the need for jobs, living wage jobs. What are light industrial jobs? How well do they pay? What will an industrial building look like? At our meeting last week, I think it was Rebecca had mentioned that jobs in the neighborhood is important and will people in the neighborhood be able to get the jobs? We hope so. We hope that people in the neighborhood will be able to walk to work. That goes into our sustainability measures. How wonderful will it be if people can walk to work or bike to work? Because we want this to be a carbon-free community and a healthy community. And we will do a deep dive into solar opportunities and all kinds of eco-friendly things that will make this a carbon-free community. We have experience in that area too. We have done some buildings that are highly LEED certified. And so we will definitely bring all those people to the table. Next, we're going to talk about the design and artwork. We have worked with many artists in the past at Beacon Bluff and different port projects. So we welcome community and local artists to be involved and want to hear from them as well. Then we're going to talk about future meetings. These two meetings, as I said, will cover what I've just said, but we want to let everybody know that there are going to be meetings that are topic specific. Future topics will be, we're going to kick off probably in June, towards the end of June, on brownfield and cleanup and what that is. Then we're going to have meetings on green energy, sustainability, then housing. Then next one will be park space. And then last, we will talk about industrial jobs, buildings, businesses, and what those could look like at Hillcrest. After that, if we need to have more meetings, we will. We actually plan on having 2 meetings in July that will be presented in, one will be presented in Spanish and one will be presented in Hmong, so that we can reach everyone in the community. As far as how can you get involved and what can we do? So we want people to come to the meetings, join the conversations, and not only join the conversations, but have the conversations with other people who couldn't come to the meetings. spread the word, get people, interested who, want to be involved. Follow the Port Authority on social media. We plan on continuing to put updates on our website. And we also will share on, many other social media sites. So we ask you to, reshare. We're putting things out, on our website and other people's websites, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, the Nextdoor app, by emails, flyers, in person, and by phone. This last week since our meeting, I have been out all over the East Side handing out flyers, and I've been sending, emails and calling people. I was over at Katie's place last week, and it's been fun because I'm a lifer East Sider, and I feel like I've worked at the Port Authority my whole life. So I have just a personal investment in all of this, and just can't wait to see all of this happen. And I would also like to hear from all of you too, how we can do this better. I mean, I had tacks in my purse and flyers, and I was tacking up flyers at Hayden Heights Library and at Hmong Village and all over town to try and reach as many people as we can. And I'd be very interested in hearing from everybody else how they are successful with getting word out, and hopefully you can all continue to help us get the word out so we can get as many people as possible involved in these meetings.
So Lori, thank you so much. Let's see if there are any questions straight away. And I know that I've gotten some messages from some folks that have to jump off here. So I want to turn to Rachel and William for just a second and just say, like, thoughts about outreach, thoughts about what gets William, Harding High grad, your office is over on the East Side, not very, in Dayton's Bluff, not very far, but Hillcrest, an incredible opportunity. Thoughts about what get people to the front of their seat? As Lori said, there are a lot of things you've done. Just thoughts or comments or questions?
I think jobs. I think, jobs and employment opportunity is what's going to get people perked up. I would say that, and maybe if there is also some plan to redevelop that White Bear corridor, to connect to that, to connect to a new development on Hillcrest. I think that would be huge because the strip malls there and the shops there, they're a little run down, they're a little dated. So it'd be nice if there was an investment not only in the Hillcrest project, but if they were talking about maybe, doing some redevelopment over there on that corridor. It's a little old and it's a little run down. It'd be nice to see that kind of build up into Maplewood as we, because that's kind of your last gateway, until you go into the suburbs. It would be nice to see that built up. And so I think just talking about jobs is what's going to get people out. Housing is a little more of a complex issue. I think most of us don't fully understand. So when we hear it, we're like, yeah, housing, but it's complex. So it's hard for people to know exactly what they're getting up for, right? But when you talk about jobs, everybody knows what that is, right? Everybody knows what employment opportunity is. So I think if you're putting that at the forefront of this development and the conversation, then you can rope people in, and then you can start sprinkling some of the housing information in there as well.
Great, thanks, William. Other thoughts or questions just right on the top here Elaine. Go ahead and unmute.
As we're trying to get the word out on various things, we are going with all available media. So we are using print. We are using Facebook. The church has a constant communication thing that goes out a couple times a week where we would put information about, we'd be happy to put information about the Hillcrest meetings. So we are going with every media we can find. We are just now delving into Instagram because what's important is how do people access information, and not everybody accesses it. I can't talk. Accesses it in the same way.
It's interesting you said that because I am actually going to explore if it would be possible to include flyers in some church bulletins. You know, just because there are a lot of people who still aren't necessarily online. So I'm kind of right there with you, Elaine, that whatever you can do, whatever you can get to work, that's what we need to do. And I did comment back in the chat that I can definitely get you flyers. I thought of that as soon as I saw that you were going to do this event, and I was like, dang, if only it was earlier so we could get it out on the May meetings, but whatever works. We will have a flyer. I'm finalizing it this afternoon on the meetings and the specific topics. So I will get, once that's finalized, I will definitely get a bunch of them to you so you can hand them out.
Well, it was also, we were asking the other way around. Would you mind if we give out vaccination bus flyers at the Hayden Heights? Yeah.
I think that should be okay.
Okay.
Definitely.
Yeah, we have already asked for, various people have asked for that at the vaccination bus, and they are open to, MDH is open to that, so.
Okay.
So one of the things that William mentioned in a meeting earlier this week too, that I thought was instructive, and then I would turn to Rebecca. So president of D4 and involved in D5 and St. Paul Eastside Elders. So just a second, Rebecca, because you mentioned something at our meeting last week. So, but turning on this, you know, one thing that William said when he found out about this meeting and found out it was going to be in a tent and in person was like, hey, maybe I'll just come because I miss seeing other people in person in a tent. You know, like, so, you know, it seems like this is a really good opportunity, the Port Authority's work around Hillcrest, to learn how persuasive that kind of thing is to people right now. You know, are people at the front of their seat wanting to come to an event in a tent? You know, or are they hesitant to get on another Zoom meeting? Like, we're tired of this format, maybe? You know, so, but your Hillcrest meetings this next week are both.
Mhm.
So a really great opportunity for us also to learn, how did our first forays in this domain really go? Here's one other thing that I just want to suggest, though, that I think is very interesting. And, you know, William is a good example of this, I think, too, from this last week, right? Personally learning about a meeting and having someone invite you, reach out. And Lori, what you said, your personal investment also means you're reaching out to people you know. Hey, love to have you come to this event. Would you consider, this is what we're talking about. Think you'd really enjoy it. Come meet me at this event. If you happen to be going, the personal tap is still, I think, the most effective way to get anyone to do anything that's not just lying in front of them when they walk from their door to their car. You know, so reaching out and actually asking people that you know is, I think, you know, I'm putting this up for debate here. And I'm going to ask Rebecca to be my first commenter as our best way to actually get people motivated to come to something that they wouldn't normally attend or wouldn't think maybe is their business to attend. Thoughts about that? Turning toward Rebecca and then back toward you.
Your question was how to get people motivated to come. I think like what we've been talking about, it's that personal touch. Just wherever you are, whatever venue that you're at, talk about it, invite people. I mean, last week my coworker Kayla was making fun of me because I said, did you hear my rant about the Hillcrest? And she's like, yes, you were going like this and you were adamant and you were just, you know, it made people stand up and listen. And I'm like, oh my God. So, I mean, it's just that, you know, promote it and talk about it and make sure that people know that you're interested in it. So they should be interested in it. And this is why they should be interested in it. So, but that's me.
No, that's good, Rebecca. And I think another thing that we just witnessed was we're using multiple networks. Elaine just said, hey, can we promote our thing at your thing? This happened last week too, where it was like, hey, can we promote the Hillcrest thing at the clothing giveaway on Saturday? Can we promote it at the food truck fair that was coming up? That was, you know, where can we get multiple exposure for the thing that we're trying to encourage people to do? I think that's another good strategy that I saw come out of our conversation last week. And Joy, welcome to the show. Good to see you on.
You
We're
know,
talking.
Paris,
Yes,
one
yes.
of
Laura, go
one
ahead.
of the things that we're doing too that they talked about quite a bit was where to hold the event. The reason why it's at Hayden Heights Rec is so that people can come with their children.
Ah,
And children can play on the playground while the parents listen to the event. I also know from working downtown, maybe this is just me being a little nosy, but whenever anybody puts up one of those big tents, I always want to know what's going on.
the tent itself will be attractive, hopefully. Yeah, refreshments, something for kids to do. These are crucial if you want folks to show up in person, especially folks that wouldn't normally think that this would be something that they might attend. But that totally makes sense. Chris Shong is from the city of St. Paul. We're going to transition here in just a second, but Chris, I wanted to just hear if you've got thoughts about this and the way the city is really approaching doing outreach in this time, and whether you all are talking about these kinds of things at that city level.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, thank you so much for having me here today. My name is Chris Zhang. I am the legislative aide to Councilmember Nelson Yang of the East Side, Ward 6. And so, on the city side, we've been having a lot of meetings with our city developers and our planners as well. And in our office, I've been doing outreach to the community leaders, community organizers who let them know that we have a Saturday first Hillcrest community meeting this Saturday. And so from our part, I've been calling folks. I've been going out to talking to leaders, getting them connected of why it's important that they get involved in the first meeting as well, because this is a neighborhood community project. So we want everybody's input on it. And at the end of this development, we want everyone to be satisfied with with the plans as well, right? And so that's what our office has been doing, and just a little bit about what we've been doing so far. So I've been the legislative aide for 3 weeks now, so this is still something that's very new to me as well. So I'm here to learn, I'm here to listen, and I'm here to take feedbacks back to the council member as well. So thank you all so much for all your hard work, and let's continue to work together going on forward. So thank you.
Terrific. Thank you so much. I think it's also interesting. This one is cumulative, or it is iterative. Lori, you're doing one meeting, but then there's another meeting that is coming up on Tuesday. And as you said, there will be some other themed meetings, if I can call them that. I mean, it's not like it's a roller coaster theme, or it's a it's a speaking.
Star Wars. Speakeasy.
What, Katie?
I said Star Wars, but
Star Wars, not a Star Wars theme.
You can dress up like that and come to a meeting. I don't know what the theme should be for Brownfield and cleanup. Bob the Builder, I don't know.
Captain Planet.
No, it should be about toxic waste. No. Anyway, right, but you've got these meetings that are more specific to our communities that might be interesting, sustainability, for instance, and the work that we've done thinking about rooftop and community cooperatively owned solar. That folks that are interested in some of those topics and features might want to come to that meeting. You want them to come to this first meeting too, am I right? Or
Yes.
tell us about how that fits into the series, just briefly, and then we'll switch gears for a couple minutes.
Well, I think that the first meeting is kind of the big overview, kind of laying the plan, letting everybody know, again, like I said, who the Port Authority is, because a lot of people don't know, going through, how we got here, what's happened up until now, what are the topics that people want to hear about. And number one, letting people know that nothing has been, written in stone. We want all of the community showing up and being engaged. We don't want people to feel left out and think that everything's already been decided. So, getting everybody there doing this, we will have several speakers. It lasts from 9 to 11. And for the last hour, we plan on doing some breakout sessions, at this meeting to begin with. And then, like I said, for people who want to really dive deep into, the different topics, then that makes sense to have separate meetings for that, because, when you start getting into something and somebody's passionate, a lot of times you have to say, well, let's, put that in the parking lot and get back to it, or talk offline. So, we definitely want to have meetings specifically about topics that people are very passionate about.
That's great, Lori. Yeah, we want to see Rebecca, doing her thing and talking in a big way.
Here comes Rebecca.
That's right. That's important. Oh, I see some hands up. Sorry, it's been a while since I recognized what that symbol even meant. I can't tell who was first here. Let's go with Ann and then Chelsea.
Thank you. I just wanted to chime in on the Hillcrest and the upcoming meeting. Also, make sure people have information about the link. There's a ton of information about the community engagement that's already been completed. The wonderful plans. I think the community is going to be very excited about some of the plans for LEED certification and net zero carbon footprint, and also the public space, the green space and the public art and the exterior of the buildings. There's a lot of great recommendations right now. And at our last meeting, which was just Tuesday, it was announced by Monty from the Port Authority that even after the master plan is completed, the input doesn't stop. The community input doesn't stop. With every development, with every developer that comes to the table with either it be housing or business development, there's going to be an opportunity for input and also review. So I think people think once the master plan is done, that's it, that's the end of it. Even the Ford site master plan that's done, they're constantly coming back to the city planning commission and the city council with things that, well, this particular development wants to change this or this, and can we make adjustments? So it's an ongoing process of community engagement.
So Ann, one of the things that seems, sorry, Lori, just to jump right here with that, and then we'll go to Chelsea. One of the things that seems critical is that the folks who attend and the citizens who have given input see that their input made some sort of impact. I think that's the other thing that is so difficult in these long planning processes. It's tough because you give input and you're like, where did that just kind of get like, thank you so much for your input, or what happened? Where are the fingerprints of the community on the plan? So I'm hopeful that the link that you've posted in the chat there is a place that folks can really see, oh, community has had a lot of input already. We can still offer feedback. This is how it's going to get taken seriously, or this is the impact it could have.
Right. And ideally, we would have had more in-person meetings, but we know, we know what happened. So I think the plan B worked very well, but now we're back, hopefully back to more in-person meetings.
Okay, I wonder, that's an important message for getting people out to give input. Like, there's been community input and it's made a difference. Now we need a little more from you. Come out and check it out if you haven't seen it yet, because nobody likes to give their opinion and feel like it just got thrown in the trash.
And I would just like to say real quick, thank you to Ann and everyone who was on the CAC, because they have done so much work and come up with things. And like you said, in this crazy pandemic, trying to have, meetings and getting everybody on and input, it was tremendous work. Thanks, Ann.
Yes, thank you, Ann, and other commissioners that have been a part of it. Chelsea.
Okay, can you hear me? Okay. I just want to say that I think this is great that we're all strategizing together about how to get community engagement, because Eastsiders do tend to have a lot of opinions and suspicion toward the city, and we tend to have a little chip on our shoulder, and so I think the more sense of ownership we can build in community, that like Hillcrest is a real opportunity for the East Side to lead the city. And there are some some opportunities here to even go beyond design goals that they weren't able to meet at the Ford site. We can do here at Hillcrest, and really, really be a leader, take a leadership role for the whole city here on the east side. And the more sense of ownership that the community can have for this project, I feel like the more valuable it will be to us, the community, and to not feel like this is something the city or the Port Authority is doing to us, but this is something the east side is leading on together. I feel if we can make that sense happen, it would be amazing.
Thanks, Chelsea. Right on. That totally resonates. Another thing that just got dropped in the chat, Katie dropped in question, critique, and Rebecca brought this up last week, and this is what she was passionate about, I think, in part, or right, that we've had input from some of the usual suspects on the planning process. What we really want to make sure we get is the diverse voices of the East Side, a younger crowd on the East Side, the folks we haven't engaged yet in the process. It makes me wonder, Lori, and think, Chris, too, about Urban Roots, say, or about the Sane Foundation, or about St. Paul Urban Tennis. We're talking about youth and youth development and cookie card youth development organizations that could bring some of their, like just target them. Like, let's get your youth involved in the process. Indigenous Roots, also a good example of an arts organization. You're talking about design aesthetic. Like, Marianne, will you invite some folks to come, and you come, and especially at your design aesthetics meeting, let's do some outreach to particular groups that we think could bring in those different voices on the East Side. Yeah, Haley, go ahead.
My camera's been off because I've been eating snacks, so just so. But,
True confessions on East Side Connect.
I am a very messy eater, so I just put my camera off for a second. So, but I'm just thinking about the work that our youth have done with the Metropolitan Region. Oh wait, no, who did we do that with? The Met Council for overall the master plan for parks. That was, I think it was a couple of years ago now at this point, but our youth working with them, did a really nice job on doing community feedback sessions, but also doing surveying and door knocking within the community too. And of course, having folks and kids that live on the East Side who are really invested in the project, and then also builds trust within a neighborhood too. So that might be a way to engage just different nonprofits and youth who are interested in being involved with the project. I'm really interested in hearing about the brownfield redevelopment myself, and like the use of fungicides to keep a beautiful golf course, but is now not the best for moving forward. But that's a whole topic for another day, I'm sure.
And tentatively, the brownfield meeting will be June 22nd.
Ooh, good.
And I wanted to follow up with one thing that Ann said. The Port Authority has submitted a plan to the U.S. Green Build Council for pre-certification to the entire site and project, so that it is under the lead for communities at the platinum level. And basically that has to do with, environmentally friendly, doing everything we can sustainability wise and stuff. And as I've said, the Port Authority has actually, whenever a developer talks to the Port Authority and wants to work with us on a project, like the buildings that were done over at Beacon Bluff, part of the agreement is that they have to sit down with a lead team that we have that educates them on LEED certifications and ways to have everything more, eco-friendly. And then the Port Authority also has, is in charge of a tool that is called MinPace. And with MinPace, that is where we meet with businesses. And just in the last year, they agreed for new construction, but it is to help businesses around, actually, we can do this statewide. We partnered with 63 different counties, but say that, you need new HVAC systems or LED lights, or you want to try and put solar on your building. You can meet with us and and we work with you. And the nice thing about this is because PACE stands for Property Assessed Clean Energy. And what that means is that then your loan actually goes on your property taxes as an assessment. So say that you were a go right now and you want to do LED lights. So you would get the money from us, you would do your LED lights, but you wouldn't start paying on it until next year on your property taxes. And then those loans can go up to, out to, I think, maximum is 20 years. So there are other tools that we have. And so we have stuff we can bring to the table, and I'm sure there's a lot of things that we can learn from people about this too.
Nice. Good. Let's switch gears and talk a little bit about something that's for free. I mean, we give our input for free, but let's talk about free clothing. And I love the way Katie put this last week. Like, if you know anybody who wears clothes, tell them about this event. Like, you know, that covers most of the people I know, at least half the time, you know, when they're on.
Yeah, maybe not during COVID tide.
Right. But Katie,
no,
tell us a little bit about the event that you're setting up, and let's talk about ways.
Yeah, we have had a free store for the last 20 years. We have kind of discerned that that is not the most pressing need in our neighborhood, and so we are making space for something new. And so we are getting rid of all of our clothes, all of our purses, all of our shoes, all of our swimwear, all of our dollar store Barbies. Boy, my predecessor collected a lot of dollar store Barbies over the last, anyway. So we had an event from 9 to 3 last week. Paris came shopping, and both Paris and his daughter left with a bag of clothes. So not to tell your business, but you know. But we're gonna do it again, a shortened day, 9 to noon on Saturday. One of the things I found with getting the word out about events is that people are more likely to respond to an event if it is shared by a person and not by a page. Even if people know that I'm the person who's managing the Beloved's Facebook page. Oh, here, I'll pause because Rebecca wants to know, did you get any of the dollar store Barbies, Paris?
Oh, thanks for the question. I didn't even see the dollar store Barbies.
Oh.
Somebody kept them from me.
I'm so sorry. I could pull some aside and deliver them to the Usaba offices if you need them.
This is why Usaba doesn't even have an office right now.
Okay.
Anyway, my daughter actually had a blast. She found a lot of things she's worn this week. Like, she
Awesome.
had a great time. And you know, like, sometimes swaps or giveaways are not organized very well. You know, like, hey, it's boxes we just have to go through. No, everything is out on hangers. This is ready for. This is incredibly organized, Katie. I just wanted to say.
Yeah, thank you. It's sized. It's it's sized. It's you know, tops are on one side of the room, bottoms are on the other side of the room. There's dresses, there's purses, there's shoes. But yeah, just that idea that even if people know that Katie is the person who runs the Beloved's Facebook page, if Katie shares the event or invites people personally. So one of the things, and I haven't done this as well at the Beloved, but in previous jobs, just kind of creating a buzz team with your organization. So having like 6 or 7 people who you just send a message and say, hey, Tuesday at 1 o'clock, let's all post this event, or hey, could each of you invite 5 people to this event, has been really helpful, because the trust of institutions and organizations is pretty low, even when the trust of people is pretty high. So I think one of the best ways is to just kind of capitalize on those personal relationships. So the other thing is if I had folks from Nokomis Montessori come through and get stuff for like, you know, like when a kid wets his pants, like, you know, clean clothes to change into. So if there's things like that, Elaine, I know you've got a lot of toddlers and infants probably in your care. We have so many infant clothes. The infant clothes, and especially infant boy clothes, I don't know how to sort clothes without gendering them, so I'm really struggling with gendering clothes. But there are so many infant boy clothes that if you know anyone with like newborns to 24 months, we have so much.
Nice. So Katie has made a proposal here for, and I'm just going to drop it as a challenge. We are your buzz team.
Hey.
Look around you, Eastsiders. We're it. So we've got 2 events that we could promote. You like 1 o'clock, Katie, or you like 2 o'clock? Let's go. I'm suggesting let's go 1 o'clock, post for clothing giveaway, 2 o'clock, post for Hillcrest.
There we go.
Invite 5 people. I think too about the shelters on the east side, Harriet Tubman and Casa de Esperanza. I'm thinking about some folks we need to reach out to who know people who would really, especially people that have kids. So let's think about let's just do it. Let's drop it out there and see what happens. 1 o'clock is clothing and 2 o'clock is Hillcrest. We have 2 days before Saturday. So let's see. And then partly it's reporting back for ourselves too. What worked? How'd it go? Anybody show up? Did Paris show up again for those Barbies? I mean, let's just figure it out so that we can make some progress on this. Great, Chelsea's in. All right, so let's switch for a minute and talk about police update. We've got 5 minutes and then 5 minutes for some announcements. Thank you, Lori. Thank you, Katie. Thank you, Chris, for being on to talk about these awesome events. And let's mobilize. Let's give it a try. And we're talking Facebook primarily, I think, is what I can offer. But that invite some people personally, like right on Facebook, and I love it, Katie. I'll try to invite them as me instead of as Isaba. Maybe that's what I've been doing wrong.
You're very charming, so I mean, you are the face of Isaba too, but I don't know.
Yeah, but I think you're right. There are things that I can't do as a page that I could try doing as my own account. So let's give it a shot, everybody. I love it. I love the challenge. Want to invite Kat Brown to come back on in live form and just give us the good word from the police department. Anything we could do to be supportive or helpful for you in your work, or things that you all are thinking about top of mind right now?
Well, summer is soon fast approaching, which sometimes can cause crimes to increase and activity to increase just because of warmer weather, more people out, more issues can arise. But we are kind of holding steady since April. You probably have seen, if you've been around the Eastern District, all the fencing has come down and the Jersey barriers have been removed. So we don't look like some kind of demilitarized entity since all the happenings. And we are very happy to go back to a sense of normalcy as well. It wasn't pleasant for us to feel like we were sitting inside a compound. But luckily and gratefully, we didn't experience a ton of civil unrest over here on the St. Paul side, which we are grateful for. We did experience a little bit of a spin up after the Brooklyn Center incident. But after that and after the verdict, we really experienced very minimal issues or problems around the cities. And we're grateful to our partners, grateful to the businesses and your response as well to that time frame. As for the summer, we have, and now that COVID is lifting, and now that Paris has deemed it COVID-free in our land, which I appreciate you taking that on, Paris.
There you go. I'm here for you.
Yeah, we are going to start re-engaging in our community outreach with the community. I know that tensions sometimes are high, and things are still a little stressful between relationships between community and our department, but our department is very committed to re-engaging in conversations, re-engaging in connecting with people post-COVID. So we will be starting up our Safe Summer Nights events that we have had for the past several years. Our first one is actually going to be over in the Western District at MLK on June got to look at the calendar, make sure you get the right date, June 3rd. So they'll be on Thursday nights again. We also will be rolling out our bike truck to help promote bike safety as more kids get back out and about, being able to fit kids with free bike helmets and fix up their bikes if necessary. So if you guys have locations or you'd like maybe the bike truck to come out outside your business to kind of draw some of your people to the businesses or neighborhoods that you see a lot of kids on bikes that would appreciate that kind of investment, we'd love to get your input and feedback on that.
How
And
do we contact Kat?
I will throw my email into the chat here.
Okay.
And you can just forward me sites and locations here on the east side. We had some pretty good turnouts last year. We did it over off of 4th and Bates and had a pretty good response. But it's a great way to engage kids and families and get kids some safety equipment to be safe this summer. So as for other things kind of going on, we're just kind of keeping on. This past week has been a little bit quieter, maybe due to rain. I've appreciated the rain because I haven't had to water my yard or plants. But other than that, there's not a ton new, and we're okay with that. But if there's any questions I can answer for people, that'd be great.
I have a question from Rebecca.
Hi there. A topic that came up in one of my meetings, and I cannot tell you which one it was. Stop for Me events.
Yes.
Are you going to continue those, or are you stopping those for a while and trying to figure out a different way to do that?
Correct. So,
go ahead.
Yep, no, go ahead, finish, I'm sorry.
I was just going to say that one of the concerns that people had was in this climate, stopping people, making traffic stops is not exactly maybe a safe thing to do. But I know that these events promote and educate people that pedestrians and bikes have the right of way over
Yes.
cars and they need to stop. So I'm
Yes.
just curious, about that.
Great question.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. And Rebecca, I guess you're talking to at least one of the right people, because I've been involved with Stop for Me since 2014. Some of you may have known me or been out with me. If you've ever been out on an event, I'm typically one of the spotters, one of the ones that crosses. And I think even though my name is Kat, I think I've used up maybe my 9 lives doing the detail, crossing the street, and in some of the intersections along the east side, especially White Bear Avenue. That's a really tough corridor. 7th Street was another tough corridor, just because it's so heavily trafficked. 3rd Avenue, because it's a connection out to Maplewood and Woodbury. But we actually just met this last week with some of the previous committee members, citizens who actually helped us start Stop for Me. Stop for Me was a grassroots campaign that actually started with citizens in St. Paul that were trying to get their kids to cross the street safely. And we began to partner with them and work with them on this issue of pedestrian safety. And what we did is we incorporated an education piece, an enforcement piece, and an engineering piece. So when we would go out to intersections and we would do the education piece, working with citizens, having them cross with us, having them understand what are the laws, what's the responsibility of the vehicles, what's the responsibility of you as pedestrians, to make it more of a cooperative effort, even though we were stopping vehicles. And it didn't necessarily mean we cited vehicles every time. It was an educational for the driver to understand pedestrian laws. I mean, many of you probably all have driver's licenses, took that test, but how many actually studied those specific pedestrian laws when they had to take that test, or were you even quizzed on what were the pedestrian laws? And so it's an education on both sides, both for pedestrians and for the vehicle drivers. So as we're looking to do and kind of reinvent Stop for Me, we're looking to actually hold events again this summer and hopefully get our citizens back out walking with us about intersections that are difficult for them, or maybe we've seen injury accidents, fatals. One of the research I've been doing this week is on that. We've had 4 fatal crashes with vehicles. We've had 4 pedestrians killed in crashes this year, 4 vehicle injury crashes, and pedestrian versus just injured, there's 3 more. So, I mean, we're getting close to 20 of those that are fatal or serious injury accidents with pedestrians and vehicles. And so it's still a big issue. It's a big safety concern for our citizens. So we're trying to reinvent as to how we do that. And that engagement may look this summer as we may host those events, but we're not going to be citing drivers. We're going to make that connection with drivers and talk to them about it. Our hope is to create some informational pamphlets, so when we do stop drivers, we can actually hand them some more data and information as to why this is such an important issue. We know statistically that when people are stopped on traffic and traffic behavior, it does help to change behavior. When we did a study with U of M a couple of years ago on yielding and pedestrian safety, the combination of education and enforcement and engineering and having them, you know, mark those crosswalks better, maybe put bump outs, maybe redesign some of those areas, or as they're redeveloping things, you know, we put in a hawk light on East 7th to help those citizens be able to cross to that supermarket. So because of our input and our work in doing for Stop For Me, it actually has caused physical change and behavior change for drivers and citizens that maybe drive that corridor every day. Maybe they don't live in St. Paul, but they need to understand the citizens of St. Paul are going to cross those streets. So we are looking to start hosting events, and we're going to be sending information out to the district councils to see if they would like us to do that, because we also want to be sensitive to those districts that just don't want that presence. I want to encourage that presence, because I think that presence sends a message of safety and security, saying we do care about citizens, we do care about the streets, and that driving behavior needs to be changed. We're seeing a lot more increase in speed, a lot more crashes, even though there was less people on the roadways during COVID. So that's a very long answer to a simple question, Rebecca, but our hope is to kind of reinvent it and re-engage the community in this discussion, because this whole campaign started with you guys, and we want you guys to have that ownership of the program, and to do and really hear what it is you need and want to see happen.
Thank you. Thanks for being on the show today too. Great question. It sounds like there will be some community input in whether or not this summer is the right time to do that kind of work, and that makes sense too. We're at the end of the time for our show. It looks like there was one more comment. Ann, did you want to say something else? Nope, that was Ann just leaning forward. All right. Thank you so much. Thanks to Lori, Chris Xiong, and to Katie for talking about events. 1 o'clock and 2 o'clock are our times. Lori, would you please post? I see that Katie dropped the Facebook event in the chat. Lori, do you have access to easily drop in the Facebook chat link for anybody who wants to pick it up, or just go to the St. Paul Port Authority page and find it? Is that an easy way to get it? Okay, going to the St. Paul Port Authority to get it. Rebecca dropped in a wing fundraiser for Eastside Elders. Totally great. That's our next challenge. All right, everybody. Next week we're talking about equity, and we've got Guild coming on to talk a little bit about what they've done inside their organization. But this opportunity to educate so that we are meeting our consumers and customers' needs, our clients' needs, as we are learning a little bit more about the landscape regarding equity, will be another chance to get you all chiming in about what you do at your shop, what you wish we were talking about, how we can work harder together in this moment around that topic. So I'm excited about next week and excited to see you all then. Thanks for chiming in. I'll leave the chat up for a couple minutes, but we're signing off. We'll see you next week.
Thanks for having me.
Glad to have you on the show, Kat. Thanks for being here.